Want to watch football without the restrictions of blackouts or cable? Check out expressvpn.com to help you get access to all the live games. Sign up today using the link in the description to get 3 free months. Yoda brothers, it's the director in one of the biggest videos of the year. It all comes down to this. The Chargers have had an up and down season so far this year, but here we are. Win and in. Win and we're going to the playoffs. Lose and we're watching from home. And against who else, who better than the Las Vegas Raiders, the longtime rival of the Los Angeles Chargers. Honestly, you couldn't write it any better in Hollywood. You couldn't imagine a better scenario for the end of the season that's more dramatic than what we're about to see go down in prime time on Sunday. For those of you who don't know, we were flexed to prime time. This is going to be our Sunday night football game. The epic finale of the 2021 to 2022 season happens Sunday night, and it's the Chargers-Raiders. Winner goes to the playoffs. This is big, guys. This is huge. This could be the biggest Chargers versus Raiders game that we've seen in decades. Now, what will it take for the Chargers to defeat the Raiders, who are red hot? They're on a winning streak. They just took down the red hot Colts. We're going to go over a lot of that in today's video. The Chargers at Raiders. Final battle, Week 18 preview. Before we do, guys, question for you guys in the comments, okay? There's a scenario going around where if the Jags beat the Colts, the Chargers and the Raiders could just kneel it out. Both of them go to the playoffs. My question for you guys is, would you kneel to make it to the postseason? It's actually been a hot topic of conversation on Twitter and stuff like that. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are in the comment section below. Me personally, nah. I want to earn every step of the way to the playoffs, and I want to fight for the right to be there. Well, with that, guys, let's get into this one. Before we do, hit us up with a like and sub if you do enjoy this Chargers content. The small amount of time you guys take to hit the like, sub, and bell notification helps me out a lot. And for the love of God, guys, before people start asking me on Sunday, Director, how do I watch the game? How do I watch the game? Please check out our sponsor, ExpressVPN. Get set up ahead of time just to make sure you've got the game you're covered for Sunday, because this is one you're not going to want to miss. And with that, let's get into this. Lights, camera, action. The Chargers at Raiders, the final battle, Week 18 game preview. Let's jump right into it, dudes. There's a lot to cover in this game, a lot to look out for in this matchup. We'll start things off with the playoff outlook, okay? It's very simple this week. Win and in for both teams. I think for a while, Raiders fans kind of lost hope about going to the postseason until they went on their winning streak, capped off against the red-hot Colts. Now they're looking to go into the playoffs for the first time in a minute, and the Chargers are just a step ahead of them as of right now. We currently hold the 7th seed, and we will be defending it on Sunday versus the Raiders. Now, again, there is an unlikely scenario that the Colts get taken down by the Jaguars, both teams. If we tie, in some random multiverse, if we tie, then both the Chargers and the Raiders go in, but it's very, very unlikely in my opinion. I don't think that would happen. I think there's even a rule set forth by Goodell, the commissioner, that if the teams do something like that, it could be an automatic forfeit for both teams. So I don't think that's going to happen. Next up, let's get into the injury report. Pretty important for a week such as this week. Let's start off with the Chargers. Gaziano might not be playing this game. Last time we saw, he did not practice. Derwin James, full practice. Linval Joseph, full practice. And Corey Linsley, full practice, however, is pretty huge. I would say, I was pretty sure we're going to have Linval, pretty sure we're going to have Derwin. Wasn't too sure about Corey Linsley. If you guys remember, Chargers acquisition this offseason, he's been super vital to the emergence of this offensive line. This offensive line has been so bad for so long. It feels like when Corey Linsley got here, Slater, Filer, the narrative absolutely flipped. So having him back on Sunday is going to be huge. huge. Hopefully he can make it throughout the entirety of that game. He's been pretty solid all season. It's kind of the first time I've seen a question mark by his name. So far, so good for him to suit up on Sunday. That one's going to be really, really big. His return is huge. And then finally, Drew Tranquill, who's been in limited practice. Last I've heard, he's trending to play, but there's no guarantee. In his stead, you're going to likely see a lot of Kenneth Murray out there, which, again, he does struggle in coverage, but very solid against the run. Even with Drew Tranquill's return, I do expect to see a little bit of Murray out there. Either way, very important that Drew Tranquill return in order to help us in our coverage in cover 3. Next up, the Raiders. They've got a huge list. I'm just going to go over a couple of these names. Diablo's been pretty solid this season. He's got a full practice in. Jonathan Hankins, defensive tackle, has not practiced. That's pretty huge because the Raiders' run defense has been less than middle of the pack this season, so Hankins being out might open up some opportunities for Austin Ekeler and Justin Jackson. Deshaun Jackson has not been practicing. That's going to loosen up their explosiveness of their offense a little bit. It feels like since the foolish man by the name of Ruggs decided to get himself booted out of the league for egregious reasons, their offense just has not been as explosive. So Deshaun Jackson missing that game would be kind of significant as well. Josh Jacobs, probably the biggest name on this list for their offense, is battling a rib injury, still limited in practice. Honestly, with the way and how big this game is, I'm going to say that I think Josh Jacobs plays this game. You know, rib injuries are tricky. They can suck, but at the same time, they are something that you can possibly play through. And I'm feeling like if there's one game that he's going to play through it with, it's probably this one where the playoffs are on the line. Outside of that, they got a couple of centers, banged up a little bit. Trevin Moehrig in limited practice. This would be really big if he misses this game. There's another guy out there, I think a rookie, who's certainly not as good as Moehrig is at the rookie level. If he misses that game, that's pretty significant. Foster Moreau has been having full practice. Let's see, Denzel Perryman, the former Charger, he's been honestly looking really good with the Raiders. I hate to say it. It kills me a little bit inside, but he's having a solid season with the Raiders. He's getting limited practices in. We know the danger of Denzel Perryman on the field. Big hitter. He's definitely one of those guys that can take you out by the knees. Got to be careful with Denzel Perryman on the field. Finally, Solomon Thomas, who's been solid. He's getting full practices in. And then Darren Waller. I take it back. Josh Jacobs not the biggest name. Darren Waller, definitely the biggest name on this list, getting limited practices in this week. Again, we're not quite sure if he's going to play, but I do think it's trending towards him playing. Hopefully it's not like something on a snap count or something, because I would like the Chargers to be facing the Raiders, with a lot of their pieces to help us prep for the playoffs, to earn our right to be in the playoffs. So having Darren Waller out there, definitely dangerous, but one that I think the Chargers can handle. We'll go over that in a second, okay? So let's get into the meat and potatoes and gravy, because it's the holiday season, and gravy of this matchup and our keys to victory, the things to look out for in this matchup and one of the biggest games, probably the biggest game of the season for the Chargers. It always seems like it comes to a dramatic close, right? Whether it's in an actual game, in regulation, things are going to get crazy at the end. The same can be said for the end of the season, the first Week 18 in NFL history, and here are the Chargers fighting for a playoff berth. Let's start things off with Justin Herbert, the Primetime Warrior. Now, if you're a Chargers fan and you've been excited about Justin Herbert for the past couple of seasons, you have been rewarded. Probably one of the best quarterback acquisitions via the draft we've seen in a long time. There's actually talk now that Herbert may be the most valuable pick since 2006 over Patrick Mahomes. How insane is that? That is the kind of home run the Chargers hit with Justin Herbert. But you know what he's been in prime time this season in particular? He's been absolutely incredible. It's time for me to throw some stats at you guys, stats that get me super excited. Justin Herbert this season has thrown for 840 yards, 8 touchdowns to just 2 interceptions in prime time this year. That's already insane, right? But you also add to that 110 yards and a score on the ground as well. That is insane. Justin Herbert has totaled 950 yards in just 3 games. The Chargers versus Chiefs, Raiders, and Pittsburgh Steelers this season. 950 yards in 3 games and 9 touchdowns. I honestly, I don't know if I can think of another quarterback that is as hot as Justin Herbert is in prime time. Now, Justin Herbert, obviously wanted to make the playoffs, has something to fight for. record-wise, too, he's going to have some stuff that he might leave a further footprint in the NFL historically, with 172 yards away from breaking Dan Fouts' franchise record for most yardage in a season. 369 yards away from passing 5,000 yards. That's actually happened twice this season, by the way. I know it's it's far-fetched that he actually throws for 369 yards or, close to 400 yards, but it's happened twice for Justin Herbert this season. He would be the first Charger in franchise history to surpass 5,000 yards in a year. Is that as important as getting the win? No. So, we can root for it, but ultimately the Chargers need to grab the dub in this game. And I think Justin Herbert would be a big part of that, a big piece of that. The biggest reason as to why that happens. His heroics certainly must come into play once again this week versus the Raiders, and I believe he can do it. Justin Herbert's the kind of quarterback whose narrative could carry him to a game like this and to a victory over a team like the Las Vegas Raiders. Absolutely insane, the narratives that we're seeing into Week 18 of this year. Next up, last impressions. Mike Williams. Now, there's been a load of talk about Mike Williams this offseason, right? Do we keep him? Do we go get Devontae Adams? There's recent talk about Calvin Ridley. As we're getting closer to the offseason stuff, we'll be covering a lot more of these topics. But I elect to keep him at this point. I think Mike Williams has been a fantastic part of Justin Herbert's development. That's just me, but I'll leave that open for another video another day. Regardless, this could be his last chance to make an impression for coaches and for fans. This could be his last opportunity to go out there and show why he's an integral part to Justin Herbert's development and to the Chargers' offense. I get it. Consistency has been an issue, but maybe he can prove. Maybe he can leave, a nice final impression with this team before they say, hey, let's talk contracts, let's talk extensions, let's talk franchise tag. I think he has a solid chance to leave a good impression, by the way. A banged-up Raiders secondary is what he's going to be facing. They do have Casey Hayward. They have Hobbs, who's been, a pretty good rookie. But they are lacking depth a little bit at the defensive back positions. He will likely see a matchup between him and Brandon Faison this Sunday. And Chargers fans familiar with Brandon Faison. Gus Bradley brought him over from the Los Angeles Chargers. And we know that Brandon Faison can be okay as a depth piece, but when you put him up against an elite wide receiver like Mike Williams, I don't know if he's going to win those. I think Mike Williams wins those. You also got to keep an eye out for, I think his name is Dallin Levitt at safety. If Levitt's out there, that dude is very, very green and could leave opportunities open for broken coverage. These are the kind of scenarios that Mike Williams needs in this game. A solid matchup versus a less than stellar cornerback and a broken safety up top to go out there and grab those big plays. I think it's possible for Mike Williams. I'm hoping, out of the Chargers wide receivers, Keenan Allen's good. We know he's going to be good for years to come. I'm hoping that Mike Williams puts up a big day because I want the Chargers to re-sign him. That's me. That's where I'm at personally. Now, as a side note, I hope Keenan Allen dunks on Nate Hobbs for the culture. Because if you guys know what Nate Hobbs has been up to the past couple of weeks, that man should not be playing this game. But I regress. Next up, a familiar face. Gus Bradley. I think he's been pretty serviceable for Vegas this year, right? The Chargers were more than happy to see him exit the building this last offseason because I think his defensive scheme became a bit predictable. Not a lot of, blitzing, lots of cover three, very soft coverage. Chargers needed a shakeup at defensive coordinator, and I think Brandon Staley was the perfect man to enter. Either way, Gus Bradley now a face of the Vegas Raiders. But I don't think he's changed that much since coaching the Bolts, in my opinion, from what I've seen in Raiders games. He's been okay. He's been, I think, better than what the Raiders have had in a while. But I do think the Chargers know who he is. And that's good. Because Justin Herbert, if you guys know, I've been talking about this the last couple of weeks, he's struggled with unfamiliar looks, right? Particularly in cover two. That's kind of been the counter to a Justin Herbert by teams this season defensively. But to me, Bradley's defense is one that Herbert knows by heart. And I believe that's going to give Justin Herbert a considerable edge in this game. I think recognizing and understanding coverages that he played with and against last season in practice is going to help him maybe slice and dice up the Gus Bradley system one more time for the win into the playoffs. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Just an observation that I had when thinking about this game. Next up, Ekeler, the kryptonite. Now, Ekeler's had a stellar season, right? I think he got snubbed from the Pro Bowl. I think he's been one of the top scoring players in fantasy football, period. And yet people still don't take him as seriously as they should. Austin Ekeler is a powerhouse. Sure, he's not a Derrick Henry out there running people over, but this guy is scoring over and over and over again. You know what? Historically, who he has scored up against? The Raiders. The Raiders have historically struggled against Austin Ekeler, allowing 145 yards and 2 scores the last time these two teams met. 145 total yards and 2 touchdowns in just one game this season. That's good. That's very good, man. The Raiders have been less than stellar against the run. We talked about them having a defensive tackle out at the top of the show. You sprinkle in a little Justin Jackson, I think good things are going to happen. The Chargers should indeed try and attack this team on the ground. Grab that lead to help your run defense out. We'll talk about that in a second. You know, make sure that that air game is very present early on. But then I think when it comes to it's time to work some of that clock, you got a good running back in Austin Ekeler to do so. You got a good running back in Austin Ekeler to check down to. And you got a good backup in Justin Jackson to generate yards on the ground. I don't know. I think Ekeler and Herbert could end up being the heroes of this game offensively. That's just kind of where I'm at. I'm hoping a little Mike Williams, Keenan Allen in there as well. But I think Ekeler and Herbert are a big reason why the Chargers could win this game on Sunday. Next up, Bosa going for the record strip sack. Now, unbeknownst to some fans, including myself until this morning when I started digging into this game, Joey Bosa is on record pace as well, not just Justin Herbert, which is kind of crazy. Joey Bosa needs one more strip sack to tie Sean Phillips' record, franchise record for the Chargers, who he currently holds at 7 forced fumbles. So Sean Phillips owns the record at 7 forced fumbles. Joey Bosa has 6. He needs one more to tie. Could he get 2 in this game? I don't know. That's pretty tough to accomplish, but it's certainly possible for Joey Bosa to walk away from this game as the record holder for the most forced fumbles in the franchise. Because the once great line of the Vegas Raiders is no more. That's one big thing that the Raiders took a huge step back on this offseason. They went out there and they drafted Alex Leatherwood, who's been bad. They let go of a flurry of really good offensive linemen. They just have not been holding up very well. And I think that's why we saw an observation by Joey Bosa the last couple of weeks, right? We heard about it the first matchup this year and again recently. It's crucial. This information is crucial. Because when Carr takes hits early, he gets shook. This is the observation. When Derek Carr gets hit early, when he gets sacked, when he gets pressured, when he takes hits, he gets shook. And I think you can say that about a lot of quarterbacks in the league. Of course you can, but in particular, Derek Carr. So an early sack by Joey Bosa, an early fumble, an early hit, could set the pace for the rest of the game. And that's what Joey Bosa meant when he was commenting on Derek Carr. And I think Joey Bosa, as we were talking about Herbert and Ekeler being the heroes in offense, I think Joey Bosa could end up being the hero on defense. Generate some of that pressure. It's going to shake up Derek Carr. It's going to make things a little bit easier on defense to manage. Now, speaking of elite pass rushers, Mad Max. We got to watch out for this guy, man. Storm Norton and Trey Pipkins have looked improved over the state of the year. I will admit that. They've been looking better. And with Lindsley and Filer back, I got confidence that Justin Herbert will have some time to work with. But man, dude, Maxx Crosby and Yannick Ngakoue are looming. And one's got to stay diligent versus this duo, man. The Raiders really do have a pretty solid pass rush out there. We got to stay diligent because they're going to target the right side. Whether it be Storm Norton or Trey Pipkins, we don't know yet. They're going to target that right side. So Herbert and the rest of that offensive line, you're going to have to figure something out because Mad Max is definitely the kind of guy you got to watch out for. This man has 90 pressures and 8 sacks on the season. Holy cow. I think Crosby is by far the biggest threat on their defense that we got to watch out for. We got to watch out for Ngakoue as well. He can be troublesome, but this man right here, number 98, is definitely the one I'm most worried about. The Chargers are going to figure something out quick with him. Keep Justin Herbert upright. Next up, help the run defense. Score! Score if you're the Chargers. Last week, we saw the Chargers take down the Broncos' powerful run duo in Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams. How did we do that? We scored. We scored a lot. And that certainly does help out the game script of a matchup like that. It forced him to put the game in the hands of Drew Lock last week, which is certainly the matchup the Chargers wanted to see. Can we see the same thing this week where we force Derek Carr to go out there and maybe win the game for them? I think that's the same sort of situation. I think the Chargers want that to be the scenario that they go into the second half of the game with. Because if you can get to Derek Carr, you can shake things up a little bit. But with Josh Jacobs, things could remain inconsistent. Now, Jacobs' status is up in the air right now, but we could still face, Peyton Barber, Jalen Richard. Are those guys good? I don't know, but this is the same team that gave up 1 billion yards to Rex Burkhead in a pair of scores. So I just don't want the run game to develop at all if I'm the Chargers defense, because that could be our end. That could end up being our end. Bosa and company really need to step up, just like they did last week. We're going to need them again. So help your run defense by trying to grab that early lead. It's going to force him to put the game into Derek Carr's hands. And I think, versus the run versus trying to eliminate Derek Carr, I think I want the Derek Carr scenario, the Derek Carr side just a little bit more. Next up, Waller. I barely know her. Yeah. Darren Waller is looking to make his return this game. We talked about that at the top of the show. This is worrisome, as the Raiders, in my opinion, their offense are miles ahead with him in the lineup. They've gone through a shaky season, right? They lost Ruggs, they lost Waller, offensive linemen, et cetera, et cetera. It's been kind of shaky for them, but getting Darren Waller back is a big boost for this team. Is he going to be on a snap count? We still don't know. We don't even know if he's really going to suit up for this game, but he's certainly a possibility. Now, we have the perfect counter to Darren Waller is the biggest step of optimism I have against him, and that's Derwin James. When Derwin James is in coverage versus Darren Waller, not much gets done for Darren Waller. The problem is the Chargers like to mix things up a little bit sometimes and put Mike Davis on him. And you'll see in this photo, Darren Waller dunking on Mike Davis. I hope to see consistent Derwin James presence on Darren Waller if he is out there on the field. Still, he may end up being the Raiders' biggest, end up being the biggest Raider to worry about on Sunday. So I hope the Chargers have a plan to shut him down. That's a pretty big one. Now, lastly, I'm just the Renfrow that you used to know. Man, these puns getting out of control. We can't dock this guy too much. Hunter Renfrow, to me, is a fun story, right? He's been pretty insane in recent weeks. He's just kind of that guy you would never expect to be one of the powerhouses of any offense, but he's been getting it done. Now, we can expect to see a lot of him out there on Sunday. And we could also expect to see a lot of Asante Samuel Jr. or even Chris Harris Jr. matched up against him this week. Now, some of you will say, Chris Harris Jr., I don't want to see that matchup. Honestly, I feel okay with them covering him because Renfrow isn't especially known for his speed, and Chris Harris Jr. has been looking better in recent weeks. So that's going to be the other weapon the Chargers got to watch out for is Hunter Renfrow, who could certainly pop off at any moment. If the Raiders are going to stay in it, they're going to have to lean on their weapons like Renfrow, Jacobs, and Waller. And with the only one that's for certainly going to play on Sunday being Hunter Renfrow, definitely make sure you have a plan to slow him down as well. So here we go, Bolt fam. Big video today, all coming to a head right here. The score prediction. A lot of Chargers fans. Pressure to get this one. Ever since week 1, I got the score dead on. They've been like, director, what is it this week? I'm hoping we're right. This week because this is a huge game. You guys know this is a huge game. My final score prediction in this Chargers versus Raiders, or at Raiders week 18 matchup, is going to be Chargers 31, Raiders 27. It's close. It's certainly very close. I would love to tell you guys it's a blowout. Chargers win by a mile. I don't know if it's going to be like that, man. Division games are rough. They are tough to predict, especially in a scenario like this where it's win and in for both teams. You could not dream up a more dramatic finale for the Chargers 2021 campaign. Win and in. The battle for the postseason. The final fight for both teams. For the Raiders and the Chargers. And the Chargers and Raiders, our history goes back decades, but this could still be one of the most significant matchups we've ever seen between the two division rivals, ever. One that could shape the future of this team of the Chargers. Because I feel like a win takes Justin Herbert to his first playoff appearance. That's huge. But a win also takes first-year head coach Brandon Staley to the postseason in his NFL debut as a head coach. That's huge. It gives the Chargers a chance to show the NFL that we are for real. This is a different Chargers led by Justin Herbert and Brandon Staley. We are for real. How far could we go in the playoffs? I don't know. I really don't. But it's vitally important to the growth and development of this team that we do make the playoffs this season. This could push the Chargers into an all-in mentality in 2022. We're talking crazy spending in free agency, trades, an awesome draft for the Chargers, who they boast, a lot of picks in the upcoming season. If we make the postseason this year, it could definitely inspire the Chargers to say, hey, it's Super Bowl time. And that's a year that Chargers fans have been waiting for decades. It's time. And it all comes down to this final Week 18 matchup in prime time. What an exciting time to be a Chargers fan. What an exciting close to the 2021 regular season. What an exciting way for the Chargers to go out there and try and earn their spot in the postseason and help this team really take the next step. Very exciting times. Well, guys, that's all from me today. Let me know in the comments section some of your thoughts, some of your score predictions for this week's matchup. Do you think the Chargers can take the win? And what are some of the biggest factors you think are going to play key into the Chargers possibly grabbing a victory and going into the postseason? And also, I'm going to throw in there, just for a little bit of fun, too, if we do make it into the playoffs, knock on wood, if we do make it into the playoffs, who would you rather play? The Bills, the Chiefs, or I'm forgetting the last one. That's right, the Bengals. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Well, guys, that's going to do it for me today. Thank you so much for joining me. If you did enjoy this content, hit us up with a like and sub on your way out. This has been The Director. We'll see you next time, and as always, bolt up and stay frosty. Come on, Bolts. Come on. One last battle. You got this.